and welcome back to the mini interview series we are doing from the data platform Women in Tech group with the amazing women speakers at the SQLBits conference. This conference is happening between the dates of March 14th to 18th at Wales. If you're looking for a good data conference to attend and learn from, this might be a good choice. There are options to attend in person as well as virtually. Our guest for today is going to be there in person, right, Deb?
That is correct. I will be there in person. I'm really excited.
So her name is Deborah Melkin, and her topic would be a practical starter guide to SQL Notebooks. Her session is going to be on Friday, March the 17th. You may want to check out whatever timing is local for you. I'm a virtual attendee, so I keep the timings on my local time, which is 11:10 a.m. EST. If you happen to be there in person, you may want to check out what it is, or if you're from another part of the world, please make sure that you get the timing right.
Because you don't want to miss this session. It's going to be a good one.
I've been enjoying this one. Like I started it like when I think this was like the first new session I did when the pandemic started. I did it at I think the virtual SQL Saturday Albany. And as I've come back to it, I'm really enjoying it because I always find there's new stuff. And so
Awesome.
I just really like doing it.
Cool.
Our sponsor for today, SQL Taylor Consulting. Joe Fleming donates $20 to Girls Who Code for every person we talk to on this show. And he is a good resource for your remote DBA needs. Joe, thank you for doing this. And that's it. My spiel ends there. All right.
Hi, Deb.
Hi, how are you?
Good. It's so good to see you again.
Good to see you too. And this is the infamous Sebastian who Andy and I are always making weird pictures of and sharing them.
We love Sebastian.
You're
famous.
So you're going to be at Bits in person. Tell us a little bit about your session.
Sure. So my session is called A Practical Starter Guide to SQL Notebooks. So the idea behind it is we're always really busy and there's always new tools available for us to kind of put our code together and work from. And so the idea is because we're so busy, let's figure it out together. So let's take a look what it is a notebook, what are the parts of it, kind of some of the constructs of how they all work together, and just a couple of examples and ideas that you can use and take back with you to work the next day or our sessions on Friday. So on Monday, you can come back and you can say, hey, I have a great idea. I have a great use case for this. So let me see if I can make it work now that I kind of understand how it is all put together.
And are these the same notebooks that you find in Spark or Python, or are they just SQL notebooks?
Well, these are based off what we have in Azure Data Studio and VS Code. So yes, the basis underneath it is what you find in Jupyter Notebooks. And I think some of the other things sometimes when you go to notebooks in the cloud with some of the Azure work, it's the same concept, but it's, it started off as SQL Notebooks when we were first introduced to it with Data Studio.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited. I like your sessions. You always have fun stuff.
Thank you. I try to have fun with it, right? Because if we don't have fun, what are we doing?
Exactly.
It's important stuff that, all the stuff is important, but I think sometimes the little edges, it makes you remember things a little bit more, takes you out of your, okay, what is this detail here and this particular thing? It takes you out and focuses on the concepts rather than the trouble that the specific thing you're trying to troubleshoot. So I like taking the step back from that. Again, it's always good to help us troubleshoot too, to be able to take that step back and look at it with fresh eyes sometimes. So for
the benefit of non-US audiences, obviously the US, we know who you are, we like your sessions, but for the benefit of the other viewers, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got around to speaking and that sort of stuff.
Sure. So my basic spiel is I've been a database professional since for a very long time. I think just 2000 is when I try not to do the math, so don't do the math. We don't like that. No math. So I've been doing this for a long time. And, technically I went to my first past summit in 2004, but I don't think I understood it or appreciated it the same way. So I wasn't able to get back to the conference. But I kept an eye on the community. I kept seeing what was going on and, ways to get involved. And so finally I started my blog, DebTheDBA, in 2016. And I went out to Summit and that year, and everything started clicking about the community. And then soon after that was a T-SQL Tuesday saying, hey, we're looking for new speakers. We want to get more people involved. If you're not speaking, let us know what your ideas are. If you are a speaker, give suggestions. And through that, the irony of, I don't think of, irony is not the right word. The funny coincidence is it happened to be Andy Yoon who was hosting, who's now my husband, for those who don't know.
Serendipity, that's the word
we'll just go with that, right? So, I mean, it's how Andy and I actually got to know each other and become friends. But again, he actually encouraged speakers that everyone who said they were new or a new-ish speaker, you actually go back and look at that post and see what people have done. It's actually pretty amazing, some of the speakers who he encouraged to get started. So that's how I got started speaking. My first session was T-SQL 101, back to the basics. So, and I just kind of evolved from there. And my speaker claim to fame is I won Speaker Idol in 2019. Sorry, Leslie.
I know, I wasn't a winner.
I think I remember that. I was at the summit. I might have been there at that session.
Possibly, yeah. So that's my speaker claim to fame is that. So I think
you were an IDEA ace too.
I was an IDEA ace.
Yes.
I was IDEA ace. So unfortunately, pandemic changed things, but that's okay because we found new ways to work around it, hopefully. And I'm still speaking, so I'm excited.
Is this your first international conference in person?
It is, and you hear so much about BITS. I'm like really excited because there's so much excitement about BITS. It's not just the parties, but just the way that sessions are, the way the community is built. Like even just the way that they described what the different tracks were, like the attention to detail about really making sure that you put your session in the right thing. What are you looking to see? What do they want to see? I just really appreciate how they're organizing it. So not only is it my first time going, I've heard so much about it at the conference over the years. Now I get to be part of it in person. So I'm super excited. Again, my first international in-person conference.
That's
so
fantastic.
I'm not speaking. I missed the call for speaker. And I was so jealous of all of y'all that were going. I'm like, screw it, I'm just going to go. So this is like the first conference in years that I'm going to as just an attendee.
And it'll be cool because now you get a different perspective on it too. Like I know what it's like to go as a speaker. Now it's remembering what it's like to be an attendee, which honestly, in some ways is great because then the next time you're at a conference as a speaker, you can appreciate it more even.
Yeah, I went to the summit for like 21 years as an attendee. I never felt I had much to offer by way of a speaker. I was just a regular DB and they were just like superstars who were speaking at summit. What would I have to speak at the same conference where Paul Randall and Brent Ozar and all of them are speaking, right? So until Ben came up with his new stars of data, I really didn't think I had much to offer by way of speaking at all.
And that's the one thing I think there are a lot of us speakers out there who are like, I'm not a Paul Randall. I'm not a Brent Ozar. I mean, in some ways, this is just me kind of exploring something. And I think we forget sometimes that that's actually really important as well. Like we do have something to offer because our perspectives isn't that of like a Brent Ozar or a Paul Randall. I don't see everything. I just kind of see what I work with day to day and hope that some of the things I've struggled with will help someone else. So we forget about that sometimes.
Yeah,
I'm kind of like, I'm an entry level type of person. I'll show you the introduction and, get your feet wet and make you feel a little bit more comfortable about exploring something
there's
new.
enough of an audience for that.
Right. And we also don't realize what we know. Like I was having a conversation with a coworker and he's like, yeah, you do this and you're at this level. I'm like, oh, I am. I never think about it that way because I don't know where I am with these things. And I think a lot of us follow into that trap. And I think that's the thing that holds us back sometimes is we actually do know more than we think we do. And we forget that and forgetting that we should speak up because we do know more. Or if we don't, even speaking up, we can learn about that and then we can grow that way too. So I think there's a lot, we don't give ourselves enough credit sometimes.
So what is the ideal audience you expect at this talk on notebooks? Would it be for anyone at entry level or somewhat of a mid-level SQL Server DBA or how?
It's not a level of DBA, it's your familiarity with SQL Notebooks, because I feel like we do hear about notebooks a lot, and we've probably seen other people present about them. And that's how I got interested. Oh, so this person is presenting. Oh, that's really cool. So it's someone who's new to the idea or relatively new. Hopefully someone who has some familiarity with it will learn something, will pick up a new trick, or they'll see a way they can use it that they hadn't thought of before. So I always hope that people who do know the things can still come away with one new thing that they hadn't. So it is designed for people who are unfamiliar with notebooks. I'm not going to lie, if someone like Rob Sewell showed up, I'm hoping I don't say the wrong thing, because he's someone who's very much an expert, but I hope maybe he can come away
when
saying,
they show up, because then if somebody asks me a question I don't know, I'd be like, hey, Rob, you think you could answer that for me?
exactly. And that's the thing, is they're there to help.
Rob is the nicest person ever with regards to that. Yeah.
Oh, he totally is. But the idea is, you hope that, even if you say it in a way that they hadn't thought of before, maybe I look at this the way Rob doesn't, and it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he may not come up with anything new, but maybe a different idea or something like, oh, I can go back and show that this time. So, yeah, I mean, again, it is geared for someone who's new to notebooks, who they've heard of it, but they haven't really had a chance to play around or think about how they can use it. That's really who it's intended for. But again, if you are familiar, I hope you walk away with a new idea, or even just kind of enjoy some of the concepts. I don't know, something new.
My session at Summit, I was talking about, it was basically a data factory session. And I had talked about using Key Vault, and had mentioned, when you're using like API calls, sometimes you have to get a new authorization token, right? And do that. And because of something that I said, this guy in my session went and changed his production data factory job to like get that token in a more dynamic way. And then like, really, he came up to me afterwards. He was like, that was brilliant. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
Wasn't even what I was talking about, but okay. I'm glad that, you could get something that useful that you felt like you had to do it right then.
And that's what I love sometimes. It's like, you do put something out there, whether it's a session, whether it's a blog, and someone comes back and the response is like, oh, I didn't even mean for that to come out, for you to come away with that. And we're used to what's in our head, and we don't think about what we don't know, or what else we kind of throw aside as a mention that actually means something to someone else. So it's really cool that you were able to help someone in a way that you didn't even expect. That's really cool. I love those sort of stories.
I know, it was super cool.
It's awesome. That's great.
So you're going to the party. You got a costume?
Yeah, of course. I can't say what it is yet, because we got to leave the element to surprise.
Right.
But it should be fun. I mean, it's nothing crazy, but it'll be fun.
You won't see me. I'm going to sneak around.
Are you familiar with Dungeons and Dragons?
It's Dungeons and Dragons theme. Yeah.
Oh, you're familiar with it, or some people aren't.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it, and that I know it's a live action role playing with friends, and it's storytelling, and I think that's about it. I think my brother may have played it when we were younger, but I don't know.
Knights and quests and
yeah. I know about it. I know it exists. I know people who've played it and are into it. So that's about my level of it. But you know what? It's fun, and that's kind of the fun thing about Bits is that they embrace this theme, and whether you know it or not, it gives everyone a chance to just kind of be silly and embrace a fun theme. Like, I love that idea.
Yes. Yep, I like it too. And I'm really excited. There's like all sorts of, like, there's a yoga, there's the run, there's, childcare rooms, there's all of these extras that, make a conference really pleasant to attend.
And you can choose to go do as much of this stuff as you want. And that's also nice. Like, it's okay if you need to take a break, go take a break. We get it. And I like the fact that we're definitely embracing that.
Is Andy coming along with you? You bringing some arm candy?
I am bringing arm candy. So he's not presenting this year, but he's excited to be coming as an attendee. And you know,
Cool.
it's also a nice chance to
Oh,
catch
we
up
can
with
hang
friends.
out then. Me and Andy can be
Absolutely.
attendees together.
Absolutely. I hope he's okay with me saying that. But yeah, absolutely. Go hang out. Make sure he has a friend.
All right. Thank you,
Oh.
Deb.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for inviting me to have this chat with y'all. I'm actually really enjoying catching up.
I know.
Okay. Hang on for a second.
Sure.
Bye.
1 second.